Let's put our hands together in Gassho. All that we are is the result of what we have taught. The mind is everything. What we think, we become. The words of Shakyamuni Buddha. Namo Amida Butts. Namo Amida Butts. Namo Amida Butts. Good morning and welcome to the Sunday's live stream morning service. Thank you for setting aside a little bit of precious time to tune in and listen to the Dharma, the teachings of the Buddha. This new month of August 2021 began on a rather alarming note. After a slowing down and decline of COVID-19 cases, after the initiation of the vaccination program nationwide, and just when life here in Hawaii appears to be returning to the state prior to the onset of this terrible pandemic, another virulent strain of the virus appeared, resulting in a spike in cases again. And so, unfortunately, we are forced to cancel in-person Sunday services again. It seems like this pandemic would just not go away anytime soon. It is a scary thought to think that future strains of the virus will just keep emerging uncontrolled, and that could pose a more serious threat to our very existence in this planet. It seems like a doomsday scenario of the end of the world. But we are still safe for now. Or are we really? Actually, several times in the past 60 years, our world did come close to ending, but not because of some divine cause or natural disasters, including pandemics. I am talking about man-made causes, specifically the threat of annihilation from nuclear weapons. Some of you remember perhaps during the height of the Cold War, the periodic drills in school in case of a nuclear attack, how children were instructed to duck under tables or go to the nuclear fallout shelters. The Cuban Missile Crisis of 1962, proxy wars between the superpowers and so on, brought the world on the brink of destruction. It's scary. Incidentally, this month marks the 76th year anniversary of the first atomic bomb dropped on Hiroshima. It was August the 6th, 1945. And a second bomb was dropped on Nagasaki 3 days later. These two events were the first time in human history that the power of the atom was unleashed to cause immense death and destruction. The power of just one of the bombs alone was enough to totally destroy a major Japanese city and caused thousands of people to lose their lives instantly. I was born after the war, and so I did not know about Hiroshima and Nagasaki until I studied world history in high school. And even then, I paid no attention to the significance of the bombings. There was a war. Japan fought and lost, and that was all I knew about it. The war did not affect my life at all, and so to me, it was nothing. It was some further studies of world history, and only then did I have a firmer understanding of what real war really does. The horror of killing and destruction affects the human psychology. I began to understand why my own father, who was a veteran frontline combat soldier of the Philippine Army during the Korean War, suffered from severe PTSD, a post-traumatic stress disorder, throughout his lifetime after finishing his military service. He had recurring nightmares of killing enemy soldiers and being attacked and killed, and these caused him a lot of stress in his civilian life. We human beings can send ourselves to the moon and back and spend billions of dollars to try to eliminate the diseases that kill us, but we pay little attention to rooting out the motivation that causes us to kill each other. The history of mankind is a history of wars and conquest. For thousands of years, man has been unable to liberate himself from fear of violent death due to the actions of his fellow man. And why is that? Because we cannot rid ourselves of hatred, discrimination, selfishness, and desires. We are blinded by our own delusions, our ego, our bonno or blind passions that prevent us from seeing things as they really are. Our desire to possess things and think dualistically creates attachment and discrimination, as in, this is mine, this is my territory. You look different from us and speak a different language. You are only from a third world country, so therefore you do not belong with us. You are an outsider, and so on. There is the attitude of arrogance, of the feeling of racial superiority and purity. This desire to possess and discriminate is strengthened by the belief that the world and everything in it is real and permanent. The Buddha taught that nothing is ever permanent and things are always in a constant state of change. So to think that our lives and material things are permanent is wishful thinking. Surely we realize that no one can live forever and that no one carries money, power, or beauty with him or her at death. Most wars begin with a desire to conquer other people or possess others' wealth or resources. But sometimes wars can begin by simple arguments and petty quarrels among tribal groups that escalate out of desire to avenge a hurt ego. Where there is no forgiveness, patience, or tolerance among nations, there can be no lasting peace. The anniversary of the atomic bombings in Japan reminds us that it is all the more imperative that mankind pursue world peace and avoid the path of war. We may have our own views and prejudices as to who started World War II or who is the good and bad side. From the point of view of Buddha, however, there was no good side. Everyone was a loser in that war because war shows that we humans could not resolve our differences peacefully and have to resort to violence. The Cold War between the United States and the former USSR, they say, ended in the early 90s, but it didn't make the world any safer. The nuclear weapons are still there, but now they are 100 times more powerful than the ones used in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And worse, more countries have come to possess nuclear weapons than ever before. The threat of nuclear war with the resulting end of all life on Earth never went away. 76 years ago this month, the world was forever changed. The technology for the biggest weapon of mass destruction was released into the world, like a genie out of a bottle that can no longer be returned. This reminds me of the story of Pandora's box, a Greek mythological story of how evil was released into the world that had previously been free of suffering and sorrow. A woman named Pandora received from one of the gods a box to keep and safeguard, a box that was locked shut and which she was not allowed to open under any circumstances. But her morbid curiosity and lack of good judgment made her unlock and open the lid. And out flew all the evils known to man, like sickness, death, hatred, wars, and others that have caused human unhappiness and sufferings from then on. She tried to close the box, but it was too late. However, one last thing flew out of the box, and it was not an evil thing. It's called hope. And indeed, there is always hope that in today's world situation, reason will prevail and another world war, this time with nuclear weapons, can be prevented. Wars start from the minds of men. Therefore, peace too can be achieved the same way. All that we are is the result of what we have taught. The mind is everything. What we think, we become. Properly understanding the Buddha's teaching of impermanence and interdependence leads to the diminishing desire and the ego. When the ego is subdued, hatred, discrimination, selfishness, and craving are also diminished. Forgiveness, tolerance, and loving kindness is nurtured instead. Peace comes from within. Inner peace leads to true happiness that is not dependent on having material possessions that can cause people to fight each other. A person whose mind is free from attachment is a person who is not enslaved by his ego, and he is at peace with himself and the world. Let us reflect on the meaning of the atomic bombings that happened 76 years ago this month. And not only that, on the senselessness of war itself. Nobody really wins in a war. By giving in to anger and use of force to resolve issues, mankind loses. All of humanity loses. The loss of life and destruction of property makes all participants in a conflict losers. The Duke of Wellington, who defeated Emperor Napoleon Bonaparte in the Battle of Waterloo in the year 1815, after he won, but seeing so many dead and wounded soldiers, his and the enemy, said, quote, "Next to a battle lost, the saddest thing is a battle won." On a personal level, the only time violence is ever justified is in self-defense situations, and only with the least amount of force as possible as necessary to stop an attack against one's personal safety. Without inner peace, outer peace is impossible. World peace will never be achieved unless we establish peace within our own minds. Let us not anymore get into situations where we will open other Pandora boxes of evil and discord by our careless thoughts, actions, and words. In closing, I would like to quote a passage from the Dhammapada, the saying of Shakyamuni Buddha. He was angry with me, he attacked me, he defeated me, he robbed me. Those who dwell in such thoughts will never be free from hatred. He was angry with me, he attacked me, he defeated me, he robbed me. Those who do not dwell on such thoughts will surely be free from hatred. Namo Amida Butts, Namo Amida Butts, Namo Amida Butts. Namo Namo Namo.
With kindness in our Peace live as we help, with grace of gratitude, connecting hearts and hands. May peace, tranquility prevail through all the world. Let's talk with everyone. Let's learn from everyone. Let help to everyone. That peace, tranquility may spread throughout the world. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu.